Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 25th of February, comes to you from London. And what a week it's been. The poor people of Ukraine, and events have moved much, much faster than I think anyone really thought they would. And of course, this had a really big impact on the turmoil in markets. So whilst our thoughts are with the people in Ukraine and what is happening there, my job is to look at what the implications are in the markets. So I'm going to just look through various things this morning. Normally I look at this list, my Charts Today list, and then I go on to look at energy prices. I'm due to write my monthly report. This is my report covering 90 different instruments. So I'm due to write that for clients for the month ahead. And some interesting things come out of that, and I'll look at some of those today. And then just a little bit of a UK focus. This data coming from EOX. This is my UK power and gas data, and it's really quite hard to get pricing on a lot of these contracts, and that's what I love about EOX. This model data is from their curve data, but this is the historic model data that effectively gives us price charts, so really quite valuable there. And we can look at the summer pricing on UK power on base load, and then this is the calendar pricing. So here we see the chart with the targets, so it still works just the same way. These point and figure targets are really quite key. So starting with my sort of macro view of the market, and in fact today I'm going to use my global list, which is what I use for the reports. And here I've got 90 different instruments that I run through. And this is really how I move around the charts. This is my weekly, my daily, my 60-minute, and the corresponding point and figure target. So I've got a long-term view, a medium-term view, and a short-term view. These are log scale charts. You can't really get these targets anywhere else than Updata. And I'm running here on Refinitiv Icon, but you could be running this on Bloomberg, on Tradeport, on a whole list of different data services. So in fact, that's the real power here. We're compatible with lots of different things, and you can feed those into your systems and simultaneously. So it's really powerful to bring this data in from different places. For example, this data is coming from EOX Live, and this data is coming from Refinitiv Icon. We're agnostic about where the data comes from. It's just supercharging the data that you've got to help you make better trading decisions, and that's really what it's all about. So we start by looking at currencies. The dollar, we've been bullish on actually since we crossed the cloud on the long-term chart, and we've seen this trend, and we've always been saying that 2022 is the year of the dollar, and strong dollar is what we expect to see. We're bullish on all three time frames with the corresponding targets, and that means pretty much a bad year for the euro, and we've got some very big downside targets here if we make new lows on the euro. Really hard to contemplate, but those targets hang over us, and we just can't ignore them. So we've got to watch for any new lows that activate those targets and push us towards that territory. Sterling sitting at 134, so we've fallen back here as well. And if we look at sterling against the euro, we're just below that 120 level. But what I'm really interested to look at today, which I don't normally look at, is what's going on in the rest of the world. So if we look at Chinese currency, that's interesting that it's getting stronger against the dollar. The dollar is buying less yuan, if you like, and the renminbi chart similar. And of course, the one that we really want to look at is the Russian ruble. And we had this breakout. We've had these upside targets on the ruble. I mean, these targets have been in place since 2 years. So there's really no surprises here that we're running towards these targets. Big move, sideways consolidation. Now another big move, and the targets have been there. These are the medium-term targets and then the shorter-term targets as well. So really quite key there. And we could look at other currencies like the rupee, and we see that effect of that strong dollar. And again, we've got targets here, so just watch for the breaks. We've got Bitcoin sitting at $38,000, fairly static. And then looking at government bonds, this is really key. So US bonds, this is the bond price. Bonds falling lower, even though we've got the upside targets, we are just starting to see that deterioration. And the first signs, of course, of the targets there, US interest rates, US bond yields falling right the way back, as the interest rate rise in the US is now sort of off the table a bit. So that's really quite key, that we're seeing that change in sentiment there, and we're seeing that just a whole series of turmoil coming in this week in the markets. And we can look at things like Turkish bonds, and I covered this on a LinkedIn post. Turkish bonds sitting at 23%, and here's the trends and the targets all there. And then I can look at Russian bonds, and if you're using Updata and you've got Refinitiv icon, feel free to message me for this layout. You can copy this exact same analysis on your charts. So looking at the market, the S&P 500 index did recover a little bit yesterday, but the reality is we've activated these downside targets and we are very much there. Looking into the energy mix, we'll look at that on my energy screen in a moment, but looking at just some of the base metals, really interesting to see things like copper. That is just waiting for the break, and I cover all these in the report, of course. Aluminium, zinc, very bullish on zinc, running up the hill there, and nickel, again another very bullish chart with the price targets. And then I have had people asking me to comment on gold. Well, I comment on gold nearly every day on charts today, and I've been saying the target is 2,400 for gold. That's what we've activated recently, and we're expecting gold to run. We're bullish on all three time frames, so no big surprises there either. And then we're looking into some of the wheat, so things like rough rice. I mean, we look across the board when we do this analysis on the monthly basis. Oats, soya, beans, we do the whole gambit, and then right down to things like ethanol and to softs, and then of course even shipping. So we're seeing Baltic dry freight rates pulling right the way back. There's not intraday data here, but we can see pulling right the way back there as well. And things like lithium, cobalt, we cover all of those. Lithium still rocketing up the hill there. Now looking at the energy mix, we are looking at Brent crude this morning, looking higher, and we are still bullish. We went out with clients to our morning report. The same for WTI, of course. US nat gas pulling back, in fact, and we went neutral there. Coal pulling back this morning, but really gunning for this 150 target that we've been talking about for some time. Really simple. Run that on your OTC data on Trayport, of course, as well. You'll get more granularity on the coal OTC price. This data coming from Refinitiv icon. Emissions had a big fall yesterday, really falling back. A new trading range developing for emissions around 85, 95. That's the new range that we're seeing. There is a little bit of a risk of a lower high, lower low scenario. If we break below that 85 level, that is not good news for emissions. We've got downside targets not yet activated. The 1 minute charts are going to tell you what's happening each day. If you're trading emissions, these charts are absolutely essential. Now, gas is a really hard call today. We're unwinding most of what happened yesterday, and that's really quite interesting. We said 100 was the new support level on TTF. We're sitting at 102 this morning. I'd be surprised if we fell back through that 100 level meaningfully. This is potentially setting us up for another thrust target, and you'll need to just keep an eye on our reports, but watch the 1 minute price action today develop. And remember on your point and figure charts just to vary the box size. So here we can see that we've got targets to the upside 113, to the downside 89 is actually active and in place, and just play around with these box sizes. They're really critical for reading the charts, so that's something that you want to do. Looking at MBP, we're also down 24%, so we've unwound a massive amount from yesterday, and the same with German power. We are sinking back, having hit that 180 level, 150. We said 145 yesterday, and today was the new support level. Just watch for that as well. So really challenging. And if we look at Nordic power, that's also looking very strong indeed on the charts there, and on the quarterly contract we are falling back some 9% this morning. So really interesting that we're seeing these pullbacks in the market because there's just so much uncertainty and volatility. We'll be putting out this report to clients On Monday morning. We'll be doing it today and the weekend. It's 400 charts. There's a lot of work, and that's where we'll cover what's changed in markets over the last month. And interestingly, a lot of these things, this is the longer term view of the market, looking more at the daily and the weekly charts rather than the shorter term. And of course, are we keeping an eye on these UK power and gas prices from this screen, which is coming from EOX Live. So that's it for today. Hang in there. Happy Friday. Spare a thought for the people of Ukraine. Just hope it's not too bloody for them. And have a good weekend. And see you on Monday. Happy charting. Bye for now.